So without further ado, let's just go ahead and get right into things. So okay, so now that it's uh, visible or focused, now that it's in focus, let's go ahead and get started with the Spider-Man portion of this video. Obviously, there are four technical Spider-Man characters. Hey, I John Gaming, what's up? How is your new year? So, like I said in my last video, I'm making a Spider-Man origin story styled video or movie or whatever, and the whole point of it is going to be kind of medias of Spider-Man like Tom Holland, Andrew Garfield, the comic books, and stuff like that. And I want to give my own personal flavor to it as well. So the whole purpose of this is it's going to be very similar to the original Spider-Man movie. I'm just going to keep Venom there so that way the stupid thing stays in focus. So Venom has nothing to do with it. It's just simply uh, he's just there to keep the camera in focus. So Spider-Man, the main Spider-Man suit that's going to be used for this the character on the right. Me, it's not the best Marvel movie that was ever made, nor the best Spider-Man movie that was ever made. To me, that'll always be Spider-Man 2 and Avengers Endgame because you just can't top those two. But it was definitely fun. It was definitely exciting. The the way my is I'm underneath a steel frame, so freaking buffers like hell sometimes. So please forgive me on that. But as far as what my thoughts are on No Way Home, I actually enjoyed the movie. Um, I had a really nice time. I love some of the characters that they brought back. I liked William Dafoe, Alfred Molina. Jamie Foxx was much better this time around. And all the other characters that made brief appearances and whatnot were really cool as well. It was kind of interesting on some of the storylines that they did. But, so yeah, I mean, it wasn't bad. I had fun. And I'll definitely, it was aiming towards having the Green Goblin or Doctor Octopus or the Lizard, or even Sandman as the main villain for this movie. But I want to save those for a later movie. Um, because the nice thing about most of so turned him into a villain. So I think, and then Sandman obviously falls into the mutation thing and gets horribly messed up, and becomes the freaking main villain of Spider-Man 3. Uh, I know for some reason the my live stream setup is really bad because I'm underneath. I said this earlier. I'm underneath a steel loft bed frame with a mattress on top of it. So because of that, there's hardly any connection underneath it, or hardly any connection in here, and it makes it so much harder to have a live stream on. So I'm gonna try. Anytime I see it buffer, I'm gonna pause what I'm saying, and then when it comes back online, I'll continue my sentence or finish my sentence or whatever, or start this over, so that way nobody misses anything. So, like I said, I'm doing a Spider-Man origin story style movie. Now, like I was saying earlier, I wanted to use Green Goblin. Again, I'm so sorry if it's buffering like crazy. It's actually like 20 degrees outside right now in Texas, of all places. So the weather is having serious issues with the Wi-Fi. So again, I apologize for that. So, like I said, I could use Green Goblin. I could use the list. Sorry, I moved wrong. Um, But I wanted to have, Green Goblin, Lizard, Doctor Octopus, Sandman, and maybe Vulture and Scorpion in a later film and later movies if this movie does really well, which I'm hoping it's going to be. But so what I'm kind of contemplating on is if I should make my own Spider-Man style villain, so that way I have at least a character that nobody's really going to care about for the first movie, and then if this movie that I'm going to do is good, then I can. So, but so that's just my plan. That's a possible plan that I've got for it. So, um, but like I said earlier, the main suit that is going to be in this Spider-Man movie is going to be this suit right here. I did rings around his feet versus the two that were there earlier. So his boots are a little bit higher, and I think matches the actual. Oh, it did originally. This is not Spider-Man. I'm pretty sure I've said this before in a different video. I'm going to go ahead and touch up on it again. This is not Spider-Man. This is a new character that's a Spider-Man quote-unquote ripoff, but it's more of a Spider-Man inspiration named Agent Spider, which I'm pretty sure is actually one of Spider-Man's many, 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 many nicknames. But basically, he is just bit, or he basically all but hates Spider-Man. And as in, like he really admires him. He admires his heroism. He needs money. He goes to Green Goblin for help. Green Goblin gives him the spider. I've had 3 different videos that I've scrapped with Agent Spider. And the only reason why they were scrapped is because the storyline just didn't really make much sense, as well as the animation for some of the fight scenes didn't really work. So because of that, sorry about that. Now this is the first Spider-Man suit that's seen in both Captain America Civil War and Spider-Man Homecoming, while also being inspired by the wrestling suit that Tobey Maguire Spider-Man had when he went up against Randy Savage, aka Bonesaw, in the first Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie. I tried to recreate the stencil thing that they did for that movie. I did find the official minifigure version of that, but I didn't want to be accused of directly ripping off Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, so I just basically took a Spider-Man or had 2 logos. One was colored blue, one was colored red, and Bonesaw is ready. Yeah. Or ready, or however the hell he pronounces it. But this is basically more about it because it's going to ruin that particular scene in the movie. But just know that this version of the suit is going to be. And I got you. You're fine. Trust me. I love it when my subscribers can make me laugh like that on live streams, as long as it just doesn't go on for too long. And even when it does go on for too long and I forget what I'm saying, it makes it with it, because if you can't laugh, there's no point in living. Well, that's not what I meant. That came out wrong. If you can't laugh and have a good time, then you've wasted an entire day. So, or it goes with, as that's that old phrase: a day without laughter is a day wasted. Sorry about that. So, like I said, this version of Spider-Man is going to appear for at least a few scenes in the new Spider-Man movie. Now, you're probably wondering, what the hell is Batman doing here? That's a good question. This is actually... I have looked on the internet, I have looked on YouTube, and I have seen a few people who have ordered knockoff or custom made Batman 2022 minifigures, and while they're great because they're actually printed, they don't have as much. The ones, at least the ones that I've seen, don't have as much detail as I think they should have. Because if you look at the official bat suit of Robert Pattinson's Batman, there are a lot of similarities to both the the armored Batman suit from the Justice League, the Justice League movie, not Batman versus Superman or the Justice League comic books and stuff like that. There's a lot of similarities between that suit and the Dark Knight's trilogy suit. So I wanted to kind of include those particular armor panels as best as I could. So the way I did that, Batman Begins torso design, the entire bat. I had some more panel lines and stuff around his chest region. Filled it, made my own basic designs around his abdomen, and filled in his belt and basically rebuilt his entire belt. And then added the Batman's bat logo over there, kind of lightened it up a bit. Added a perimeter around it so that way you could actually see it, because otherwise you can't see squat. And everything was outlined in that silver, so that way you can see it relatively easily. Just like in the movie, you can see his eye. Whoops. You can see his eyes through the mask. Then he'll focus. So I tried to get his arms. Now his arms don't have as much detail as they probably should, but the main thing I wanted to do was the little gauntlet things that he's got, and he also has that armor plating as well on his shoulders. So these are actually modified Ant-Man arms that were heavily modified to make it look like Batman's gauntlets from the Batman movie. And then his pants are actually relatively simple. I took, I think it's the Dark Knight, if it'll frickin' focus again. Come on, focus! Stupid phone camera. Okay, I colored the whole thing black. And then the parts black were highlighted and they gray, so that way it shows all the detail. And that was basically it, because Robert Pattinson's Batman suit around the legs, they're very simple. They're not as armored as you would expect it to be. Like when Christian Bale's Batman suit was first released, it had a lot of armor plating. As a matter of fact, now, excuse the head and stuff that's on it, but you can see there's a lot of armor plating on his legs, which is funny because, you would think Batman would want of mobility, but that's beside the point. So this version of the Batsuit is basically just, it's simple on the legs and arms, but his torso is what has the most coverage, which makes sense because there are multiple scenes in the Batman trailers where he is being shot by multiple bullets and they're just pinging off of him like it's nothing. My favorite scene of that those parts of the trailer is when he's walking down that dark corridor and the only thing that's lighting it are the gunshots. That is by far one of my favorite scenes of the entire trailer so far. Aside from, obviously, the brutal beatdown from the first trailer when he's like, "I'm vengeance." And frickin', is just beating the crap out of that poor dude who just was, I'm guessing, was just there. And he just starts beating him up and then they start attacking him. But, so, and then also his face was custom printed. Using, if I can get the helmet off. Crap. Point. It originally was Batman's face. I moved the eyes up to the visor. I painted or redecorated where the white visor was. Gray, added the eyes in so it still looks like he's wearing that eye paint or eye makeup around his face, so that way his mask blends into his with his eyes. And then I took a grinder and cut off the bottom part of an old Batman mask because Batman or Robert Pattinson and most other ones, and that's why a lot of people are giving him crap about it. But honestly, I think Robert Pattinson is probably going to end up being the best Batman ever, simply because he looks like Bruce Wayne. He definitely seems like the kind of guy who could easily pull off the role. And not to sound weird or anything, but he's fairly well built. Um, and he honestly seems like the kind of guy who would play Batman really, really well. He's already had a long history of playing bats, considering he was in the god awful Twilight series, which I still didn't watch. I saw maybe 45 minutes of one of the movies, and that was it because I couldn't finish it. It was beyond ridiculous. For those of you who like Twilight, that's fine. You know, there's nothing wrong with liking Twilight. But when the actors hate the movie, then there's an issue. And since basically all of the actors who played in Twilight absolutely hate those movies, despite it making their careers, then yeah, you know there's a problem when the people who worked on the movies hate those movies. So, but you know what? I'm sure there's millions of people who love Twilight. I mainly knew Robert Pattinson as Cedric Diggory from Harry Potter, but that was about it. And I think I've seen him in a couple of other movies. Sorry about that. I moved wrong. So, uh, let's see what else. I never really talked a whole lot about the Green Goblin design that I did, and which I've used this character for a while now, and not once I don't think I've ever really gone into a whole lot of detail on what went into doing that. It started just like Robert Pattinson's Batman design. It started off as the first Batman suit from the Dark Knight trilogy. I took the Bat logo away. I repainted the whole thing purple in Paint 3D. And then added a few green portions here and there to show green lights. The same thing is said for his back. His back is also from the Dark Knight. Same thing, it was redecked purple and added some green lights. At the moment he's got a brown pouch. At some point it's going to be purple. His arms do not live stream when it drops 50 degrees in one day. No joke, this morning it was 70 degrees and now it's like 19 degrees outside. That is not an exaggeration, that's what actually happened in Texas. And because of that drastic weather change, okay, hopefully now it'll be fine and not be a pissant. So, the arms are modified muscle arms along with the, I guess it's the emitters or whatever on the Ant-Man arms being brown, but at the moment, the only reason when I was at that Bricks and Minifigs store, which is awesome. It's probably one of the best Lego stores ever. When I was over there, they only had the hat was originally brown. That's why it looks really crappily painted purple. They only had that color. Because you can build your own minifigures and stuff out of spare parts that they have up there. It's like $10 a figure or some shit like that. I don't remember exactly how much it is because I haven't been there recently. But this was the only helmet mold that they had. So I'm like, you know what? It's still green. It is a official Legos Green Goblin face, recolored to match the ears. And I actually was able to do that by taking an image of the official Legos MCU Hulk, putting it on a document, and actually getting that exact same color. So that's why the Green Goblin is more authentic looking. Get the colors right the first time. Other characters, when I have to guess the colors because there is no official color, it's a little bit harder to find and get those colors. I can't think of any characters off the top of my head where I've had that issue before. Actually, I take that back. Inferno and or no, Death's helmeted design was a pain in the ass because I used the gunmetal. I think it was gunmetal Ultron body, which has a metallic kind of color to it, and trying to find that exact color, to use in paint was a nightmare. So I just said screw it and made my own color, and I tried to get it to match as best as I could, and you really can't tell that much of a difference. But other than that, it's just, if I can find the color, I can easily just pull the color straight from the palette and just use that as in my figure. At some point when I get a computer, because I have to use the family computer because, I don't have money to go out and get a computer. So at some point, I'm hoping to get a computer. And then when I do that, I will show you guys how I do my minifigures and actually hand draw most of the shit. Some of the ones that I've done that are all hand drawn is Jason Voorhees. Most of his design was actually pulled from a Red Hood figure, Red Hood design, and then recolored and hand drawn to show all of his zombie marks and everything. Same thing with the zombified Batman. Most of the design on that was hand drawn. I'm trying to find one that was completely hand drawn, with the exception of the Spider-Man that's behind Walking Dead Batman. There was this Spider-Man that was mostly hand drawn. The only parts that weren't were the basic templates, and I usually stick with a basic template if I'm going to do something like that, so that way it's easier for me to basically fill in the gaps. So basically what I do when I make my minifigures like that is I take a basic template, and then if I can picture it in my head of how it's going to come out, then I can simply just use 3D paint and just change the basic colors that I want to change, and basically it becomes a whole new design. All of the Gravity Man villains are all of their torso designs, and most if not all of their legs and arms are all the same template. The only thing that changes is the colors and their logos. So it gives it enough difference to make it its own character while it's also the same suit. So, which some can say is lazy, but it works because I can take for instance, this Spider-Man is actually a Moon Knight body and modified Batman legs and Ant-Man arms. So, or modified Moon Knight and Ant-Man arms. So, you would never be able to tell that just by looking at the figure, because I've changed so much of it that it makes it its own thing. So, let's just say, I'll hope when I do this. But, okay, actually, Elemental 4. Now, keep in mind they're missing heads right now because I used most of them for the Day the World Ended series. Completely different. It's the same template, the same suit, but it's a completely different character because of how, subtle the changes are. If that makes any sense whatsoever, it's the same suit design, but it's been changed enough to where it makes it its own thing. So, even though the basic template is all the same, I would show you another character that I've taken a similar template off, but I can't because then it's going to ruin a future Gravity Man project. So, and yes, before anybody says anything, I'm going to remake Gravity Man at some point this year. It's just I'm hesitant to do it because I'm afraid it's not going to be as good as I'm hoping it's going to be. I've had 4 projects that I've had to cancel or stop because they just did not turn out the way I had hoped. Target Michelangelo was a really stupid idea. And it's something that me and my brother came up with, and it was beyond ridiculous. And the whole concept was Michelangelo goes on a murder spree because there's no pizza in the Ninja Turtles lair, which is absolutely ridiculous. And that's the reason why it only lasted 1 video. Deadpool's Red Brick was another one of those series or videos series that should have only had like maybe 1 or 2 parts, maybe 4 this year. No, obviously that's we're in 2022. But either 2021 or late 2020. Arguably could have been better if it was timed better. Let's see. Deadpool's Vacation didn't do too bad. Think of another videos. The Nightwing movie was done way too early, and because of that, it absolutely failed. Not only that, it was too focused on Batman. It wasn't really focused on Nightwing. If Nightwing gets a sequel, which it doesn't really look like it's going to be, that particular problem is going to change really, really fast. The whole Batman problem. And then we'll be forced to focus on Nightwing. So, but there's so many projects that I've done on this channel that have not worked, and most of the reason why they haven't worked is because of my original YouTube problem. And because of that, it's never fully recovered. So, but you know what? That's fine. It is what it is. So, but, because of that, my videos never really recovered. So that's why a lot of them have seemed to drop in quality, but yet I've never really changed anything. I think Deadpool's Red Brick had potential to be really good, but because I did it as early as I did, it wasn't really watched because it was done too early. Like, if there's a lot of videos that if I waited on it, let's just say, for instance, I don't know, let's just say if I wanted to do Gravity Man, if I did it now, then yeah, it's out there, but then, and that could bring in more subscribers, and it could bring in more people, more viewers, more subscriptions, and more people watching the show. But it's also a double-edged sword. It cuts both ways. If it ends up being but so yeah, it's one of those things that if I pull the trigger on a certain project that it's a double-edged wrong, or if I do it good, if I do it right, a lot of people are going to know about it. If I do it wrong, a lot more people are going to know about it. So, that's just one of those things that I can do it. It's got potential. But if I pull the trigger on it and it's too early, it's going to fall flat on its face. The best example I can think of with something like that was obviously Nightwing. Um, the Battle Nexus had potential to be good, but because I did it so early, it didn't make much sense. And just was flat out just doomed to start from the start. Um, let's see. It would probably do pretty well, but at the same time, it wouldn't, because there are going to be a lot of people who are going to who have seen the first one to be like, well, why is this different, or why does this person survive? Who's this person connected to? It would just flat on its face. That's why I'm so hesitant anything that was even remotely related to the other channel. My most popular video, just like when Marvel created Deadpool, it was taken very seriously and ended up being a 50,000 viewed video, or some ridiculous somehow, and that video was completely ridiculous. Create that. So, I'm sure there's a lot of people who have found out that my old channel's dead, and then they see this one and they think it's an Ultimate Deadpool copycat. I actually had somebody think that. Somebody in the stream. But I can't remember what video it was, and I want to say YouTube actually took down the comment. But somebody said, hey, I was a subscriber on your old channel, and I saw this come up in my recommendations, and I basically ignored it, and then finally I just said screw it and watched it and found out it was you. And I'm like, thank you, I guess. I didn't know how to answer the comment. But, yeah, eventually I think YouTube took it down because they want to basically hide all of the evidence that they ever took down my channel for no stupid for the dumbest reason possible. Because, for those of you who have no idea what happened, my channel originally was taken down because of a bogus copyright claim on a reaction video that was in the description said this was done under fair use. I even checked with the person who made this video to see if I could react to it, and they said go for it. And because of one person, the whole thing went to shit. So I did get permission to react to it, and because taken down, and I've never done a reaction video since, nor will I ever do another reaction video ever. Things that you can, or basically one of the biggest things you can do to start a YouTube channel and get one off the ground. But because it was a reaction video that got my original channel terminated, I absolutely refuse to do one on this channel. The only way I would ever do a reaction video on this channel is if I'm either reacting to one of my older videos in a much, much, much later time, just to see how cringeworthy it is. That would be the only way I would ever do it, because then at least I know for a fact I couldn't get copyrighted for it, even though I'm sure somebody would find a way to do it. But because of that one stupid video that was a reaction video where I had permission to react to their series, my whole channel was killed because of it, which, you know what? I'm over it. It's not a big deal. I basically picked myself up, dusted my pants, and kept walking. So, that's the problem with YouTube nowadays, is you can stumble, you can fall, and yeah, they'll basically beat your ass for it. but you just pick yourself up and you keep going. So, you know, it doesn't matter. YouTube doesn't care what, basically, about anybody. You know, I know there are several people I know who this is their source of income. This is how they put food on the table, and this is how they provide for their families. So if YouTube takes that away, and you know, a lot of people who do YouTube full time, you know, like, there we go. They don't have to worry about some of the lower ones, like yeah, I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I know a lot of people who are YouTubers, and this is their source of income. So if YouTube takes down their channel, they're not getting paid for anything. And then half the people I know who have channels that is their job, or as their main job, they don't know how to do anything except you. And they can't start over because half the time they don't recover. You know, their stuff doesn't get. So, you know, it's just one of those things that it's a nervous tick that I've got about YouTube. It's fun to do, but at the same time you have to be extremely careful with what you do anymore, because the world has gotten dumber over the last 20 years, that it just anything you do, say, or think of can just easily be turned around and slap you in the face with it. So, you know, and I know there's a lot of YouTubers that complain about YouTube's policy nowadays, but you know what? Hopefully they'll change it, but it's very unlikely. So, the whole point of this video was to talk about Spider-Man, and it ended up being a completely other conversation in itself. So, anything? Yeah, that's absolutely true. And it almost actually. This is a real quick little Home Depot story. For those of you who don't know, I work at my local Home Depot. I've been there for almost 2.5 years. And somebody took a very simple question that I asked them, very offensive. It was not an offensive question by any sense of the word. I work in the lumber department over there, and they asked recommend they apparently reported it to the head manager up there, and it almost got me fired, because they had said that apparently I insulted a customer or something with word, or assaulted with them with words or whatever. I'm like, I answered their question. No, stop, YouTube. I want to hear this. Oh my god. But yeah, they asked me a very simple question, and I answered it exactly the way they wanted me to, and they just completely took offense to it and reported it to one of my higher up managers. And luckily nothing happened, because I told them what had happened, and they said all you did was just answer their question. I don't know why the hell they got all basically wild up about it. And I said, I don't know either, but I want to say they were looking for something for, I want to say it was the shingles. They asked me what was, or no, it wasn't even a wood question. It was the shingles. They asked me, what is the best way to put shingles on a roof? And I said, basically, you get a ladder and a nail gun. And a couple of other products that you can use. And they basically just accused me of calling them complete morons and everything else, and blah, 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 blah. And it was just a fiasco. And luckily, nothing came out of it. But help somebody. So say today can be taken, so anything can be offensive today, so which is absolutely crap, but it's so true. That's why I actually have a shirt somewhere that says politically incorrect and proud of it, because while yes, when I'm at Home Depot, I am somewhat politically correct, but around my house, I'm not at all politically correct. I will, say I say I'm mildly politically correct. Like there are a few things in the world that tick me off, and some of which are stereotypical. But other than that, like I agree with some of the things, like African American people being horribly mistreated and whatnot. That's awful. Um, it's that's the parts that I don't agree with. But that's the simple things like how people react to just what like I said, like a basic question, or even a said that that's a really nice. I think it was a really nice jacket that somebody was wearing, and they said, "What are you, a pervert?" I'm like, "Dude, they're just giving you a compliment." So it's not like they're saying, "Hey, you look really good." It wasn't taken. It wasn't supposed to be taken that way. So I mean, it's one of those things that no matter what you say, it's just and like I said, this all goes back to my whole after 2012's whole end of the world shit was supposed to happen and it didn't happen. Everybody just completely thing just went to shit afterwards. So, but it's you can literally say anything and it can just completely piss somebody off. So, but yeah, with me it's the stuff that is actually bad. But like my my whole family members have said, yes, what happened to African Americans over 100 years ago was awful, but they should be glad of how far they've come, not keep dwelling in the past. So yeah, that kind of thing. But other than that, I try to be as somewhat politically correct while also being completely incorrect. Um, but you know what? I'm also from Texas. This is gonna sound very stereotypical, but I'm from Texas, and Texas. Very few people I know are actually politically correct here. Most people here are not, complete rednecks like most people would like to think. But there are quite a few people here who are like, yeah, I don't really give a shit about politics or politicalness or political correctness or anything. And they'll say it to your face. They're like, I don't give a shit about political correctness. I'm going to be a jackass till the day I die. So there are a lot of people I know who are like that, but most people tend to watch their mouths and clean up some stuff like that in public. So I don't know how we got into politics on this video. It's supposed to be a Spider-Man video, but before I end the stream, I just want to thank you guys for watching, um, and guys the people who have been sticking around for so long. I cannot thank you guys enough for it. This channel would not be possible without any of it. So, like I said at the beginning of the video, there are the two Spider-Mans that are in the middle are going to be the main ones that are going to be used in my film. I now have Robert Pattinson's The Batman, and also I have at least one new Spider-Man type character, which I'll introduce in a later video. So that's basically it for this whole live stream. That was the whole purpose of it. So, like I said earlier, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the live stream despite it buffering crazy. And the only reason why it's doing that is because, like I said, I'm under a steel frame shaft. So, all that under there, that's all my bed frame. So, because of that, and also the way my chair is angled, it's a really piss poor connection. So hopefully next time I do this, I will be smart and do it in a better place. Most likely not, because I'll probably forget it by then. So again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys all later. Bye.